Linda Galin.
Sir Miles Galin III.
Ken Lane.
Samuel Galin Asher. Benjamin Asher.
My name is Lawrence Kersner.
My name is Heather Rossoff.
Hannah.
Charles Rossoff.
Liza Galin Asher.
Neil Kersner.
My name is Ben Rossoff.
Jody Galin.
Amy Rossoff.
Rebecca Galin.
Ann Young.
My name's Elias Asher.
Larry Michaelis.
Joan Litsky Wexler.
I met Scott right after he was conceived. Didn't really meet him till 9 months later, but I knew him.
I met Scott 40 years ago at Dalton. We became fast friends, and it was Alan and Scott who were joined at the hip and allowed me to become their friend as well.
Let's see. I think I met him in a hospital because I missed his birth, having stopped for a corned beef sandwich.
I met Scott, I believe, in this very apartment when I was 16 years old, and that would make him 14.
I remember Jody and Scott met at a party at Andrea, Chip, and Chip Muldow's. And I think that I met him shortly after they met at that party.
My first memory of you was playing on the roof at 180. I remember our backyard kickball games, sleigh riding, and what I thought was a massive hill across the street adjacent to the mayor's house.
I guess I could say I've known him my whole life.
I don't really recall when I first met Scott, but I think Scott met me probably when I was born.
I remember meeting Scott in Colshurst Park when we were about 4 years old, and our mothers, our sisters, and our fathers and I and Scott became best friends ever since.
I knew him my whole life because he's my uncle.
I met Scott the day I was born.
I met Scott a few years before he married my daughter Jody. I don't quite remember the year, probably 88.
Scott and I actually went to the same Hebrew school at Park Avenue Synagogue. He went to Dalton and I went to Horace Mann, and have a couple of mutual childhood friends from Park Avenue Synagogue and our high schools. And we re-met when he married the sister of my wife.
It would have to be somewhere around April 4th, 1991, at least a few days after that, because the way I met Scott was through my wife at the time, Judy, and her and Jody had enrolled our daughters, my daughter Nicole and Hannah, in an infant massage class. And sometime after that, I guess, we had met through the wives, and I don't remember if it was man love at first sight. I don't remember that level of detail. But I think slowly over time we realized that we had a lot of interests, and that would be tennis, sports, politics. It can go on and on.
I met Scott when I was born.
I met Scott in 1987 at a mutual friend's house. They were having an open house party Thanksgiving weekend, and we hit it off right away, and he offered to drive me and a bunch of other people back to the city from Connecticut that night. Well, I thought that was the first time that I met him. He told me later on that I had met him the summer before at the same friend's dock. And I thought he made it up because I had no memory whatsoever of that. However, he had a picture, a photo we were both in, so he had proof, and he was right, and that was just the beginning of him being right about the many memories he had and I did not have.
Well, I'm assuming I met him a few days after he was born, but to tell you the truth, I don't recall the actual moment, but I'm sure he was a few days old when my mother came home from the hospital, and I was 2.
I met Scott my first year entering Dalton. I was going into the 5th grade, and we were 10 years old.
I met Scott when I was born.
I met Scott when I was a young boy at 180 East End Avenue at my cousin Lawrence's apartment. Not exactly sure how old I was, but I've known him since I'm pretty little.
In the best sense of the word.
Funny, loyal, and friendly.
Invisible, non-findable, oblivious,
Tall,
Rational and pragmatic.
Kindness, loyalty.
very funny. He's hilarious.
A caring, sensitive person who has a big heart, always takes interest in other people, always concerned about other people.
Funny, loving.
He is very funny, and whenever I see him, he always makes me laugh, and he always has the best jokes, and he's just a really nice and caring guy.
Funny, bold, strong, kind, nice, appreciative.
Caring. And I say that, I thought about it, and I thought of how often that, or how many occasions and holidays I spent with your family, and so Scott's always thinking about me.
Smart, caring, and driven.
Tall, athletic, and very smart.
Forgiving, wise.
Loving.
Kind, caring, thoughtful, loving.
Trustworthy, contemplative, industrious.
Warm, dependable, fun-loving, concerned, a loving person.
Great sharer of ideas, a true friend who will always put the other person before him.
Thoughtful, caring, funny, trustworthy, and serious.
Smart,
Trustworthy, honest, loving, funny. He makes me laugh. Amazing. Just love you.
Nice, caring, intelligent.
Intelligent, that's pretty clear. So I always have to be on my toes so he doesn't call me on anything.
Health conscious,
Intellectual.
Caring, loyal, and unflappable.
heartfelt, funny, very, very dry sense of humor. Very dry.
Selfless people I know, in that he seems to have a greater interest in helping other people than anything that's going on in his own life.
Very responsible, dependable, loyal, kind, caring, and very sweet.
My water broke in a restaurant, and the waiter started yelling at the busboy for spilling water. And lo and behold, a few hours later, there was Scott.
As a bizarre father, the further I could get from toddling children who always made me nervous was my modus operandi. But I do remember one time going to retrieve him in Carl Schertz Park, I think, and he was playing baseball, or if not Carl Schertz Park, it was somewhere else, and he was swinging the bat in a bizarre way, and he told me his wrist hurt or something. And of course, I think he had a fracture.
Well, I think what I always loved about Scott is that he's just such a giving person, particularly with my four boys. He's been kind, and not only kind but interested in them, which is just really wonderful. And he and I have grown very close over these many years, and he really is like a fourth brother to me. I have three brothers of my own, and he's really become part of our family as well. And Scotty really is an integral part of our lives and has been of my life for many years.
I think we were all good eaters. So if we had an opportunity to go to Flaming Embers on 86th Street, we would load up on $5.99 or $6.99 special steak, potatoes, corn, soup. It was a kind of all-you-can-eat menu, which was always a lot of fun. And we used to go to Monero's in Greenwich, Connecticut, which was a steak place on the water where you could eat as much as you wanted for a certain amount of money, and boy did we eat. Gorgonzola dressing on salad, steak, ice cream. It didn't stop. It was almost embarrassing, but that's what we like to do. And back then when we started driving, we looked for an excuse to go anywhere in the car. if it was my car or Alan's car or Scott's car, it didn't matter whose car it was, we just wanted to get in the car, we just wanted to drive somewhere and go have some fun. So we definitely ate our way through the tri-state area.
Some of my favorite things to do with Scott is hang out with him at his house or go out to dinner with him, talk about what I've been up to with like baseball and soccer and different things.
I kind of remember junior prom. We went with different people, but I remember just like having a good time together as a
I
group.
think at any family outing we've been to, any holiday, whether in good times or bad times, you've been there for not just me but my entire family. And I wanted to let you know that I also appreciate that. You're coming off a flight from God knows where, and you're exhausted, and yet you still make it to the family event that we had that day. You still manage to call me back, even though you might be 18 hours ahead with no sleep, ready for bed.
I had a nighttime routine where Daddy would tuck me in. And he would start off usually by giving me a math problem, and then he would make me into a pizza or into pancakes or cookies. And if he had a lot of time, he would start off really like at the beginning, like there was a farmer and he mowed the lawn, and then he plowed and he grew the grain to make the wheat to make the flour. And all throughout this he was using me to like tickle me, like I was the wheat. I was the tomato sauce. And now he wonders why I always jump when he goes to touch me. And then after that, he would usually rub my back, and then when he went to leave to say goodnight, he would say, "I love you more than anything else in the world." And I would say, "But not more than Hannah."
We've been in each other's lives for nearly 47 years. In today's equivalent of texting, we communicated through our windows. You on the second floor, and I was on the fifth.
My Scott story is about the day that he proposed to me. It was the end of the summer in 1989, and he invited me out to his parents' house in Southampton. He was already there when I got there, and I guess he knew me very well because he managed to get me to ask to take a walk on the beach, which we did. And while we were walking along, he had hidden champagne glasses and a champagne bottle and a ring box in the sand. And I was very surprised. It was very exciting. And he was smart enough not to put the ring in the sand. He had the ring in his pocket. And he asked me, he said, "Will you be Mrs. Galin?" And I said, "Yes, I will marry you."
My dad has always given me an interest in math, and from the time I was very little, every night before I went to sleep, I would get a math problem to do, and often it would involve, if Mommy made cookies and put 3 cookies on one side and 4 cookies the other way, and filled all the rest of the tray out, how many cookies would there be? He took me to math club every week before school, so we had that as a very special activity to do together. We played tennis. A lot of tennis. Every Sunday morning we had a court time we would play together, as well as on the weekends and in free time. One thing I have learned to not do together is when he asks for a favor, you should just say no, because it usually involves moving furniture.